What is happening, everybody? Happy Thursday, May 19th. We are here for the sports edition of the Slate. It's been a while since I've worked on a Thursday, but looking forward to it. We have Pete Jensen joining us for the first portion of the program. We have Reed Fowler also coming up in just a bit to react to what's happening at the PGA Championship, and we'll also look ahead to some NHL futures. Maybe weigh in on tonight's Celtics Heat game, Game 2. Pete is here, though, because he covers the hockey, does that hockey over at the NHL, senior fantasy editor. He's also one of the premier hosts of the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast with the NHL director and senior fantasy editor. Pete, always great to talk to you. I know it's been a while for both of us on a personal note, but good to have you here. Kind of a wild night last night in the NHL playoffs. We had a 9-6 final last night. Edmonton in Calgary. Wild stuff. What have you made of the playoffs so far?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, it's funny, right, that Calgary played such a low-scoring series in the first round. That was probably because they ran into Jake Ottinger, a stud goalie for the Dallas Stars. But then things really opened up quickly yesterday. We saw Mike Smith get yanked after Calgary scored 3 goals on him early in the first period. And then, I think that rivalry is one that is one of the best in the NHL at large, but maybe a lot of people in the States don't realize how crazy it gets. And it gets like that in the regular season. It's got some feisty play from guys like Matthew Tkachuk that had a hat trick yesterday. So really fun to watch that series. And then we got Battle of Florida, Game 2 coming up tonight.
Yeah, Tampa with the nice win on the road to open that series. Pete's going to join us for the next 15 minutes or so. So if you have any questions as it relates to the NHL playoffs, we can even discuss tomorrow's games while we have you here, Pete. So tonight, as he mentioned, Tampa and Florida, St. Louis, Colorado, both Game 2s. Colorado wins in overtime the other night. St. Louis, I just got a good feeling St. Louis is going to keep that series tight. That's no walkover kind of series for Colorado. Then again, I may or may not have thought the same when they played Nashville, and Nashville got smoked. So we shall see. I've got the contest pulled up over here on DraftKings. We'll also dive into some DK Sportsbook stuff before we let Pete go. But looking at the contest, how are you planning on starting your lineup? Of course, you go position by position, center, wing, D, and in the goal.
I mean, I think you have to start it, whether you're rostering a red hot goalie Jordan Binnington or not. You probably have to start it with Nathan MacKinnon, 9,000 in DraftKings dollars. He leads the NHL with 7.4 shots per game this postseason. 7 shots per game. I mean, that is ridiculous. That's even better than like what we've seen a guy like Ovechkin do, who always leads that category on a per game basis each year, it seems. We've never seen anything like that from him, whether it's a postseason or regular season. So Nathan MacKinnon, worth spending up for on the top line with Mikko Rantanen. Rantanen and MacKinnon, both top 5 among active players in career points per game. McKinnon's tied with McDavid for first after McDavid went off yesterday to tie him. So McDavid's not on the slate. So to me, it's a no-brainer to spend up for Nathan MacKinnon and then kind of diversify across the board and get some exposure to all the different teams playing on this small slate.
So you're talking like 5,100 average salary, remaining player afterwards. So are you at all concerned though that MacKinnon will be high owned and or is it a situation where, okay, get him in there. You're probably going to need him if you want to have a winning lineup.
Yeah, you're probably going to need him, especially on a 2-game slate. He's probably going to get you at least a point. He's probably going to get you 5+ shots on goal. That seems to be a given. So that's an extremely high floor. If he goes off for something like a hat trick, yes, he would probably be rostered by a lot of people out there who are aware what the Avalanche are doing. They haven't lost a game yet this postseason, but I should mention that I am interested in Jordan Binnington because of his save volume, because of the bounce back appeal of the St. Louis Blues, because of his career road record. So it's kind of like where you go against the grain a little bit too, and you kind of bank on that floor from MacKinnon. And, you know, if he spots a couple of goals on Binnington, it's not the end of the world because Binnington's probably going to get you a ton of saves unless he gets pulled, which is probably unlikely. So yeah, I think that it's worth the risk with Nathan MacKinnon. If you want to, go a little bit cheaper, go with Rantanen. But I'm not too concerned about diversifying the salary because in my mock lineup, I've been able to, slot in MacKinnon, slot in Kucherov, slot in Jonathan Huberdeau. So I think it'll do just fine with those types of guys and then sprinkling in some value elsewhere.
Okay, yeah, 51 saves on 54 shots faced. He's coming off a game in which they needed them. And that third period and in overtime, the third period especially, right, he has to make crucial stops because they were on the penalty kill down the stretch. There was an opportunity for Colorado to score with the extra man. And then Binghamton made some fantastic saves in overtime before allowing that game-winning goal. As you look up and down this contest, as you said, 4 teams in 2 games, where are we finding value? What position do you go to? So if you're going to pay up for MacKinnon, for instance, at center, where's the value that you can find in the wing and on defense?
Well, I have Brayden Schenn in a utility spot in my mock lineup, 3,500. He has assists in a couple of games in a row now. He's playing on the top line with Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron. O'Reilly's been a beast the whole playoffs, including game 1 where he scored the first goal. David Perron has been a little boom or bust, but if Perron goes off for 3 or 4 points like he has before this postseason, sprinkle a little Brayden Schenn and you'll get that, bang for your buck there for a really moderate price, 3,500. I also like the value on Val Nichushkin, teammate of MacKinnon, plays a lot with him on the top line. And if you want to go heavy on Colorado with the chance for them to keep their postseason opening winning streak going, it's now at 5. He also has a great shot volume. He's tied for 6th in playoff shots per game with 4.8, which is also a ridiculous total for McKinnon's teammate Nichushkin. And he had a breakout regular season. So have a lot of trust in that player and what he's been able to do through thick and thin, regardless of who's been missing in the lineup or out with COVID or out with injuries and so many ups and downs. It's usually ups for the Avalanche because they're crazy deep. They got a lot of star power. For the St. Louis Blues, though, it's an opportunity, right? To put some fear in the Avalanche a little bit. You send them on a loss here, and all of a sudden you have the upper hand in the series. Nashville, you mentioned they got smoked in round 1, but game 2 was the one game that they almost won. They took it to overtime. It was the rookie Connor Ingram, third string goalie, played the game of his life. So the Avalanche are a juggernaut, but they're not invincible. So don't be afraid to roster guys like Brayden Schenn, guys like Ryan O'Reilly, and of course, Jordan Binnington to go against the grain a little bit.
Oops, I was muted. Sorry about that. What did I see today? I saw a stat or a trend on O'Reilly today. He has scored at least 1 goal in 8 of the Blues' last 9 games. Anytime goal scorer tonight on the DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 210. So that's, clearly those odds indicate that it's kind of a long shot, not too long, but it's long enough to think, wow, is he going to really keep it up? But I guess to your point, I mean, with the Blues, we know Colorado is pretty good, but for the Blues, is the script too obvious to know who's going to deliver for them? Is O'Reilly too obvious of a guy to have in there? Or is there someone else that could potentially spoil his streak that he's been on?
I mean, he's their best fantasy player, their most consistent player in the postseason, going back to, the Cup run in 2019. He's about a point per game. Actually, I believe exactly a point per game. So he's been awesome for them when the games matter most. But in the regular season, we saw from St. Louis, I mean, it was really Colorado, Florida Panthers, and then St. Louis Blues in terms of the deepest offenses that roll 3 strong lines. So I think on any given day, other than O'Reilly in the playoffs, you could see big time contributors from almost anybody in the top 9. That includes, guys like Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas, who's been really quiet this postseason, but had a breakout regular season and a crazy point streak. Robert Thomas at one point in the regular season had the longest, tied with the McDavid for the longest point streak in the entire NHL. It was 16 or 17 games, something crazy. So maybe a little Robert Thomas for a cheaper than usual price wouldn't be a bad play, especially with his potential to bust out here and bounce back after a slow start to the playoffs. But yeah, the Blues are so deep, so It's kind of hard to predict who's going to have the multi-point game any given night. So that's why I like just try to get that exposure any way you can. The Blues are the perfect team out there to round out your lineup with, and just see who fits your price point. If it's Buchnevich, that's fine. If it's Parayko, the defenseman, that's fine. If it's Justin Falk, that's fine. If it's, Ivan Barbashev, that's perfectly fine as well. So they're a fun team in that regard. You could kind of just see where they fit in and then roll with the punches a little bit.
So just using the DraftKings Sportsbook as a jumping off point, both games have a total of 6.5, and the over has been very friendly in these playoff games. I think a lot of that speaks to games on TV, and the league wanted more scoring anyway, right? Going into the year. That's just an opinion, but the scoring's been up for sure. But I haven't heard you mention anyone from Tampa or Florida. You've been very heavy Colorado, St. Louis when it comes to DFS. So are you trying to say, without saying it, I'm putting words in your mouth, you can take them out after I'm done. Do you like the game script of Colorado and St. Louis more than you do Florida and Tampa for scoring purposes?
It really depends. I think I'm a little afraid to roster like SERGEI BOBROVSKY as a goaltender, because not only his playoff track record, but you look back at last year, like Florida had 2 home games against Tampa in the first round, lost them both, and pretty much buried themselves. They still came back strong and won, and forced it to game 6, but they were too far behind to really recover. This is a chance to make things different, and obviously they're heavily favored tonight for a reason. Like, they have great bounce back appeal. They're one of the best teams all regular season at responding, coming back from deficits and all kinds of things like that. So but again, he might allow a ton of goals even if they win the game. So I'm a little hesitant to roster Bobrovsky. Vasilevsky is a good play with how good he's been. But again, if Tampa is missing Brayden Point, which they are, you just wonder if Florida is going to respond here. It's probably pretty likely. So again, I would get some exposure to both of these teams. It could get high scoring. Nick Paul is a stud on the third line for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He had 2 goals in game 7. He had an assist in game 1 against the Panthers. He had 4 shots on goal in each of those games. So he's kind of like a ride the hot hand guy for me. I mentioned in my mock lineup, I have Jonathan Huberdeau. I also have Aaron Ekblad. This Florida Panthers power play, by some stretch, I can't explain it, they don't have a power play goal in the whole playoffs. So that's probably going to have to change if they're going to really get this game back and get the series back intact. So yeah, with that in mind, a little Huberdeau Ekblad connection is not a bad idea if that power play does bust out and recover here.
You can find Pete Jensen's great work over NHL.com as a safe haven. Is that correct?
Yep. NHL.com/fantasy. You could see our DFS picks every day during the playoffs, our playoff pool rankings, which we update each day for whatever type of format you're in out there, or looking at any props or anything like that. And then, yeah, we do NHL Fantasy on Ice once or twice a week during the playoffs. Twice a week during the regular season. And even when you get into the off season, we're dropping episodes to preview the new season every single week. So yeah, it's really a great show for if you're a casual hockey fan getting into it playoff time, if you're just trying to learn more about the rest of the league out there, or if you're playing fantasy or betting on anything, you should definitely tune in.
Before we let you go, when you look at the lines for tonight, just in terms of money line, just picking the games. Tampa, of course, is a dog again, despite their convincing win in game 1. St. Louis, a dog at Colorado. Do you like any of the dogs again tonight, or does Colorado go up 2-0 and does Florida even this thing? Florida's at -160 for tonight to even the series.
There's some appeal on both for sure. So my series picks on NHL.com, just so everyone knows, I got Tampa Bay in 7 over Florida.
Okay.
And I got Colorado in 6. So I am giving some respect to the St. Louis Blues. I expect them to win a game or two, which would be an improvement over last year when they got swept by the Avs. I think they're a stronger team than they were last year, top to bottom, even with Torrey Krug injured. But I think there's something with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's almost like a underdog tour that they're on right now. Where, like we saw last year, like the Islanders, for some reason, were like underdog in almost every game and they were still winning series. So obviously they're on another level than the Islanders were. But for some reason, they're being underestimated. They were underdogs against the Lightning, came back and won that series, and underdogs in game one. And the series at large, really, against Florida. And I thought did a tremendous job silencing that raucous crowd in Florida without one of their best players in BRAYDEN points. So that just shows they really have that like heart of a lion. Like you can't underestimate the Tampa Bay Lightning. Why would anybody, right? They won back-to-back cups and they look like they're about to go on another deep run here.
Yep, and they've taken on that identity, that's for sure. Pete Jensen, really appreciate the time. NHL.com/fantasy, as he said, NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. Twice a week during the postseason, he'll have you covered. Him and his team will have you covered. Thanks, Pete, for the time. We'll see you, all right?
Thanks, Brendan. Great to catch up with you and enjoy the games tonight.
You too. Thank you. Okay, that's a long way of introducing Reed Fowler. Hi, Reed. You there?
Yes, Brendan, I am here.
Hey, man. I feel like I haven't talked to you in years.
I know you're big time in us now, right? I mean, you got the Connecticut Sun, you got the lacrosse, professional lacrosse league, you got ESPN The Ocho. I mean, can you make time for us little guys anymore? Rookie of the year?
Well, I mean, you haven't made time for me. We could look at it the other way too,
True.
right?
Good point.
Yeah, I mean,
Good point.
stick to Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I don't typically work those days. So, anywho,
you, bud.
Yeah, you too. I've got the golf contest pulled up. Rory, excellent day for Rory, huh? How are your picks doing? And I am not saying that with sarcasm. If they're not going well, I apologize.
No, yeah, I mean, Cam Smith, he was close to doing a lot better than he is right now. He could have easily been where Rory is. 7 birdies today. You know, obviously you see him finish at 2 under. He had a double bogey and then a handful of bogeys to go along with that. But it looks right now that the afternoon wave, Glash, it's pretty tough, because if you look at the guys who are in the top 20, at least Scotty Scheffler is the only player, I think right now, if I'm just scrolling through the leaderboard, that is, there's guys like Jesse Mueller, JT's at 1 under, Webb's at 1 under, but Scotty Scheffler's at 2 under and he's got an eagle. All the rest, I think, are pars. So right now, the morning wave definitely, as you're seeing here, all of these guys went out in the morning wave, and that's why this person is leading right now.
Weather will be a factor, I believe, tomorrow, right? That's going to impact some folks in the morning.
Yeah, you can kind of see if you're still watching on ESPN Plus, the wind picked up probably around 11, 12 o'clock today. And it sustained. I think it dies down in the evening and then doesn't really pick up until a little bit later in the day tomorrow. So this PMA, they might get some relief, this PM wave. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of names out there, Glash, that Patrick Cantlay's at 4 over, Brooks Koepka's at 5 over. It's not looking great out there. I mean, Finau looked okay. Finau could have easily been at 3 under, but that's sort of the story about Finau, right? That he could have easily been somewhere if it weren't for his putter. But a lot of guys did not. I mean, Hideki was missing it 2 ways, left and right, which is not great. He's at 2 over par. So yeah, a lot of big names. Billy Horschel, who I liked, he's at 4 over par. So, this is a tough test of golf that these guys are facing in the afternoon. It didn't look like that with Rory.
No, it didn't, right? It did not at all. Like you said, he had 7 birdies today.
Yeah.
Right now, 57.5 fantasy points in the winning lineup, at 22% owned in the DraftKings Millie Maker. So it's been a while since we've worked together, as I said. So I'm curious as to how you go about looking at the PGA Championship as an example, it being the event this week. How do you seek out live betting opportunities when the event has already started?
You kind of have to wait and see, right? I mean,
sure.
You can make some live bets right now. Like, again, if you saw Tiger Woods and what he was doing early in the round and you saw his number at plus 8,000, you could have said, hey, I'm not missing this, right? And I think he got to 2 under at one point, but now he finished at 4 over.
4 over, yeah.
Yeah, so you got to be careful, right? Because it can look nice, especially in major golf. It can look nice for 3 or 4 holes. But then if you reach a stretch, if a wind gusts at the wrong time and you put yourself in the wrong position, especially at this course around the greens, that par could easily turn into a double bogey. So you take a look at some of these players right now. I mean, Tiger's probably, he's what, 800 to 1 plus 80,000 to win. Yeah, it's not necessarily going to happen. And I honestly thought, Glash, that he was going to do better this week than he was
at the Masters.
Than he did at the Masters. Yeah, but this 4 over par, like it's proving to be a tough test of golf.
Sure has. And there was that report that came out, I think it was Monday when I was with Jeff, and the report was that Tiger said he's felt stronger coming in, but he probably felt that way too at the Masters. Of course, he feels stronger now. But I thought this would be the week where not necessarily he'd dominate, but I thought, it would look better, which, who's to say he doesn't turn it around after getting off to a good start today. Any other takeaways from what you've seen so far? I know it's only day one of the PGA.
Yeah, I mean, some names. I mean, John Daly was up there for quite a bit earlier in the round. Will Zalatoris, man, if this guy, like, I've played and I bet this guy like for I don't know how long, and then all of a sudden he comes out and he makes a lot of putts and he goes 4 under in round 1. That's something that you have to take with a grain of salt, right? Because Will Zalatoris is someone that, like, if you're not getting your putts into this course, then you're not gonna do well at all. But with his ball striking, Glash, and if he can putt, like his first tournament, his first win on the PGA could be this tournament. A lot of golf still left to play. Those 3-footers on Saturday and Sunday, they feel like 6-footers. And for Zalatoris, that's what you have to hold on to, is those 3-4 foot putts. Especially if he's above the hole and it's quick, that's what you got to hope that he makes. And right now he's making them.
And he's played okay coming in. I saw you tweeting earlier. Why is Tony Finau upsetting you?
I mean, he does every day. Every day, even when he's not playing, he's upsetting me because I can't play him. But I mean, like, you take a look at what he can do if he can just make some putts, right? I mean, there were 3 or 4 opportunities where easy birdie opportunities that, especially him going out in the morning, because I know this, right? Like, you watch enough golf, you know how it's going to play out. He's going to go out tomorrow afternoon, and those birdies, he would pay top dollar. He'd pay, $10 for a $1 birdie tomorrow in the afternoon. So missing those birdies now, it's not the same as if you're missing birdies at some, at the Byron Nelson. You're missing birdies now, like those can pay, those can be costly in the terms of, right, getting yourself set up for the weekend. Because we've seen at this tournament specifically that the leader after 36 holes tends to be the guy who wins the golf tournament. Mm-hmm. So guys are going to have a difficulty chasing unless someone like, let's say, Rory or Will Zalatoris is leading. If they falter and come back to the field, okay. But rarely do you see guys catch up. And that's something that you're probably going to see at this course, especially if the wind keeps up, is that it's going to be a tough one to birdie.
Reed gave out Cam Smith as we led off this segment, gave out Cam Smith to win the PGA Championship outright at 21 to 1. And there's Cam in the top 6. So yeah, keep it up. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, look at some names up here. Matt Kuchar at 3 under. I had him at first round leader. He didn't really pan out. He had a couple early bogeys. Could have been better, but shoots a 67, which is his first round scoring average. Abe Answer, not a long hitter. And this was a narrative that, especially in DFS, I'm sure you and Jeff alluded to it, is the whole narrative is, hey, you got to hit it far, right? You got to hit it far because it's 7,500 yards plus on a par 70. Abraham Answer is probably one of the shortest hitters on tour. And look, he's at 3 under par. It's like, that's the Tom Hoagie, not a long hitter, but he's at 4 under par. So you can't necessarily believe in the narratives that they're going to play out because you're now seeing, and it's still early, but you're seeing a couple of guys in the top 10 that do not hit the ball far whatsoever, but are really, really good with their approach shot and especially their long irons.
What's your latest burning take in the National Football League? Do you have one?
Jeff, myself, and Pierce all claimed that the AFC West teams not named the Chiefs. That's a really roundabout way of saying that. Let me take that back. We all thought that the Chiefs were going to lose their 2 games to the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Raiders. So essentially, our aggregate was saying that the Chiefs are going to go 0-6 in the AFC West.
Get out of here.
No, yeah, I know. And it wasn't like, hey, do you think that they're going to go 0-6? It was looking at the AFC West in the, I think it's season specials tab. If you go over, and then you see, I think regular season series, you'll see if what teams can go 2-0 against. Right, you see the first one there, the Broncos.
Okay, yep. So Chargers 2-0 plus 290.
So
against
here
the Chiefs.
chose Chargers to go 2-0 against the Chiefs. Jeff loves Russell Wilson, so he went Broncos against Chiefs 2-0. And I said, hey, look, why not take the best odds out of all of those, because it's a strong division. It's really a crapshoot, these teams. And the Raiders were what, like
plus 475.
Right. And I think the aggregate total score last year with the Chiefs and Raiders was Chiefs 95, Raiders like 17. So this is a bet, right, that should not happen. But look, the Chiefs are going to look a little bit different, right, Glash? They're going to look a little bit different without Tyreek Hill. Their defense, their secondary is not strong. I mean, they're going to be starting a rookie cornerback in Trent McDuffie, who was great in college, but you're talking about going up against Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, right? Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. Like this is a pretty good division of wide receivers. And again, the Chiefs didn't do much outside of Kalafdis to get pressure on the quarterback, right? So now you start to think, okay, well, one of us is either, is going to be right or wrong, or one of us is going to be right. Like they're not going to go 0-6 in the division, but you could arguably see that, especially with the Chargers, they're third, I think, in Super Bowl odds. They could easily do it. I like the Chargers a lot this year.
The Chargers to be a Super Bowl winner is like one of those things where I'll believe it if I see it kind of thing. Yeah, they are 14-1. Like that to me is like, I feel like you got to wait on that. Or maybe they get off to a good start and it's too little too late, but you're saying, I mean, your overall point is it's closer than the Kansas City's clout is why they have shorter odds.
Yeah, I think regular season wins is something to take a look at in terms of how we think a team is going to perform. Mm-hmm. And look, I think the Chargers are at 8.5 or 9 or 10. Excuse me. Okay, 10. So
that's moving
10-7. Even if they split their division head to heads, right? The 7 wins are going to be picked up, and I think the AFC West plays the NFC West this year. So, they're going against the Rams. They're going to be against, Seattle's probably a cakewalk, but the 49ers, we know that they always put up a good battle. So, look, the Chargers, they bolstered their defense with Khalil Mack. If he can stay healthy, that's a fine pickup. They still have Derwin James. They got Bosa. Ingram's not there. Nwosu's not there. But, right, like they drafted a guard in the draft and to basically protect Justin Herbert as much as possible. And they also, I think CJ Spiller's brother, Isaiah Spiller, was also picked up too to back Austin Eckler. And I think Spiller is going to be better than any of the backups that they currently have. Right. So the Chargers are going to be someone, a team that if they can stay healthy under Staley, I think they're going to be a team that could be tough to beat.
Their previous backs, Justin Jackson, right? Joe Kelly.
Yeah. But again, like that's right. Like if you're confident, why draft Spiller?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, they're not going to deploy. They could deploy all 4 of these guys, but I mean, I really don't see how Spiller doesn't beat up those 2 guys fairly easily. So when you look at the Chargers and their road to victory, like the Chiefs, I think are going to be a team that they're not going to be able to score quickly anymore. Right. I mean, Cole Hardman is not Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
You've already tried that when Tyreek has been out and everyone's rostered.
Sky Moore. Right.
Exactly. So I don't necessarily see it with the Chiefs, but the Chargers, absolutely.
Chargers, I forgot, and I haven't done this yet, really. I haven't played the schedule game yet, but the schedule game is a lot of fun. And you know why it's fun? Because the Chargers are a team that I think really it helps them to get off to a good start. They open up at Kansas City. That's their first game. But then after that, Jags home, at Houston, at Cleveland. Who knows who's at quarterback, right? Yeah. Home Denver. You get Denver at home to open up the season in your first matchup, which quickly checking the calendar, that's Monday Night Football at home against Cleveland. Home Seattle, at Atlanta. I mean, right there, you're talking like, that's 2 losses, 5-2.
Yeah, at worst, right?
Yeah.
Like it's,
If you lose both division games,
if
5
you
and
lose
2.
both division games, right? And look, the Chargers and the Raiders is going to be a shootout, in my opinion. And you got to give it to Justin Herbert if that's the case. I love Derek Carr, and I love that Devontae Adams is going to be in the silver and black. But like I've seen what Justin Herbert can do at the end of the games, and it's fantastic. So, and look, the Denver's going to be interesting, but Seattle's, like I said, I think Seattle's going to be a cakewalk. And then you got Atlanta, who's gotten really no one to pass to. Marcus Mariota, if he's going to be the starting quarterback, and then you run a stretch of 49ers, Chiefs, Cardinals. That might be a tough stretch, especially if you're not healthy. But yeah, you can go 5-2 in the first 7 games, and all you need is 6 more.
Yep. So I know it's very early to predict, but there's some favorable matchups there out of the gate.
Yeah.
We have to go. It's almost 6. We had overtime in that last sim. It kind of messed everything up. So it's a bummer. It wasn't meant to be to have more time together. So whatever. That means we'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, man. Tell Kaufman to keep on taking days off, keep on slacking so you can get back on Thursdays.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the word you just said. So, okay. Thanks to Eamon and Andrew for what they do behind the scenes. For Pete Jensen, who joined us, does a great job over at NHL.com/fantasy. Reed Fowler, keep up with his work following the PGA, and I'm sure very soon, like I'm not even just saying that to say it. Like very soon, there will be football coverage. Right? It's going to be here before we know it.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're already doing it on the sweat, but
right,
even a more concentrated effort of it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thanks everybody for tuning in. The Slate is back tomorrow with LaMarca, Buchanan, and Kaufman. They'll have you covered, talking a lot of baseball, I would think too. So we'll catch you then. And the sweat tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. We'll see you then.